I can't think of a more frustrating time in my life than when I knew that I wanted a better life. I knew that I had all of the skills and all of the ability to have a better life. But for some reason or another, it could not come into fruition. There is nothing more frustrating than being able to know that you should be at a better place, or you should be receiving or doing something greater than what you're doing and you're not. And at the same time, seeing other people actually manifest and live out their greatest dreams because they dared to step into it. They dared to walk away from the familiar. They dared to walk away from the comfortable. They dared to walk away from the place of stagnation, the place that was keeping them stuck. And it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of something inside of you pulling you and telling you that there is something better ahead of you. And so many times we get stuck in this place of wanting better, wanting to have better, of wanting to do better, but we become stuck because the old patterns are most comfortable and familiar. There is a scripture in Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse number 2 through verse number 3. It says, "Then the Lord said to me, you have made your way around this hill long enough. Now turn north." We all have heard of the children of Israel leaving or being exodus out of Egypt. We've all heard how they went into the wilderness and they wandered for a long period of time. The wandering process was a part of their journey. It was necessary, if you will. It was necessary for them to change their habits, to change their taste. In Egypt, they were eating one type of food, and their bodies had become accustomed to that food. In Egypt, they had to live under a certain realm of law. In the wilderness, they had to then create new systems and processes in order to survive. The wilderness season of your life is indeed essential to you breaking the patterns of how you were raised, the things that you learned that do not work for where you're going, the things that were impressed upon you by societal norms that were pushed to tell you that this is the way that this must be. The wilderness is a moment where you uncover who you truly are, and you uncover what you really want to do by the context of where you've been and what does not work for where you're going. The problem is with many of us is that we get stuck in the wilderness out of the fear of having to start over, out of the fear of being without some of the luxuries of where we were. Our hearts begin to long for some form or some sense of familiarity. And in this process of being in our wilderness, this is where many people become stuck and they do not progress beyond. They do not receive the things that were truly meant for them because the processes of comfortability begin to grab a hold. You know, I often think of, I come from a small town, a very, very, very small town where everyone is related. And there is this constant voice in the back of my head that is constantly reminding me that I don't want to be like those that were stuck in my family, those that never branched out, those that never moved out, those that were comfortable with the way of living and never progressed beyond. When I look at some of those individuals, as much as I love them, there is this fear that I'll become like them if I don't keep pressing. What's inside of you has to be so much larger than the comfortability of where you are. I am often presented with these moments where I have to make these decisions that mean that it may shift relationships around me. It may shift some of my comfortabilities around me. It may shift some of the dynamics that I have learned to become accustomed to. But where I have been destined to be, it cries out louder than my desire to want to remain comfortable. When you have a clear picture of where God is taking you, and maybe you don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but you have an idea that God has certain things for you, whether it is the relationship that you've prayed for, whether it is the finances that you have asked for and prayed for, whether it is the business or the job that you have prayed for, whether it is the relationship with your family that you have prayed for. There are going to become moments in your life that you're going to be presented with the cycles of remaining the same. And it is so easy to fall into the traps if it is something or things that you have consistently done. It is so easy to fall into the traps of doing the same things over and over again and never receiving or experiencing the result of finally waking up to walk over or around that mountain. The other day, I was having a conversation with my mother. We've decided that weekly we're going to have conversations to begin to explore having an even greater relationship. And in that conversation, I shared with her that I used to have this tendency when I felt uncomfortable or when I felt lonely or when I felt fear that I would need immediate gratification. And that often came way of me going online or going to a mall or going to a store and buying something spontaneously, something to give me an immediate gratification because of the loneliness or because of the frustration or because of the fear that I felt. It was something that I just all of a sudden realized, wait, this is a pattern. But there are goals that I've set in mind. There are things that I desire to have. There are things that I desire to do. And as long as I stay in that pattern of fixating on fulfilling that immediate gratification by way of going to buy something, a gadget or whatever it may be, then I'm never going to progress beyond the point of where I am now. And it is not until I have to sit in the moment of uncomfortability, rest in that space of not being comfortable, rest in that space of not doing things the way that I have always done it, rest in the comfortability or become uncomfortable with being stagnant, of recognizing that this is a pattern. And sure, it doesn't feel great. Sure, it may feel lonely. Sure, it may be a fearful moment. But not until I have learned to sit in that and rest with it as opposed to trying to fulfill it have I understood that I can actually see life outside of it. Some of us don't know what life looks like to be where you desire to be, and you will not know unless you overcome the comfortability of remaining the same. Friends, God is bringing you to a place in this season of your life where you are branching out, and there are going to be some moments that you're going to be presented with things of your past. There are going to be moments that you're going to be presented with feelings of stagnation. There are going to be moments where your past is going to call back to you, the old patterns, the old habits. You know, there used to be a time in my life where I would be ready to fight, or I'd be ready to cuss you or whatever it may be the moment you say something to me that I didn't like. I felt that it was my job to take up for myself, defend myself, and to go off on everybody. But as I got older, I realized that if I was going to be the person that I have destined to be and that I ultimately desire to be, I cannot be tempted by what people say or by what people do. And I'm going to constantly be presented with those things just to see, have I really desired to go after the life that I have been meant to live. You know, sometimes God will allow you to be presented with things that test you, whether it is responding to that late night text, whether it is going back to that toxic relationship, whether it is staying stuck on that job that you know is not progressing forward, whether it is going to respond back to that family member or that friend that said something that you didn't like, and so you think it's your job to cuss them out or lay them out. You're going to constantly be presented with those things until you make the decision that it's not going to work anymore, because where you're going is so much greater, that you'd rather invest your energy, you'd rather invest your time, you'd rather invest your gifts, your talents, and your tools and your resources and all that God has trusted inside of you. You'd rather invest that into the life of your future than allowing anything to pull you back to a place of familiarity. If you truly want better, if you truly want the things that God has for you, then don't take the bait. If you truly want the things that God has planned for you and you really want that better life, you've got to be comfortable in the place of being uncomfortable, of facing those fears, having the difficult conversations. What is this season of your life teaching you? What are the lessons that you are learning from this season of your life? God is calling you to higher. And it's not going to look like your mother's higher. It's not going to look like your father's higher. It's not going to look like the preacher's higher. It's not going to look like the religious form of higher. Because what God is doing in you is new. Behold, he does a new thing. Shall you not perceive it? We are always presented with moments right before we cross over. I was talking to my sister yesterday and I said, it is amazing to me that when I look back over my life, I realize that peace has always been presented to me at the place where chaos existed. It is the moment that you make the decision in the hard place that shifts your life and changes you forever. That relationship, that marriage, that business, that financial freedom, that healing, that moment that you've been waiting for to happen in your life. It is on the heels of you making a decision that is contrary to anything that you've ever done. And certainly it may be uncomfortable. It may be difficult, but it is going to be worth it just to see what's on the other side. So my message for you today is that when you are presented with things that seem uncomfortable, when you are presented with this moment of elevation and growth, and it's on the heels of something that normally you would respond in one way, my challenge to you is to stop going around the same mountain, to move north, to do something different so that you can see what God really has for you. And I believe that you are watching this message at the right time. I believe that this is the moment, this season, that God is inviting you to better. But in order to walk into this better, there are some things that you're going to have to walk away from. The stagnation is going to have to be broken by an action that is beneficial towards the success of what's on the other side. I want to thank you so much for watching today. I want to thank every last one of you, every partner. I want to thank every follower. I want to thank every subscriber. I love you with all of my heart. I am so grateful that God has given me to you and you to me. I am so grateful for the connection that we have one with another. And I believe that in this season, we're going to go higher together. And we're going to accomplish things together that we only prayed. So stick with me. Let's take this journey together. Thank you for every person that sows every single week. Thank you so much. If you want to consider sowing, then there's a link somewhere down in the bio. Please consider giving. Maybe you want to send me a message. Let me know what this message has done for you. Please do so. I read every last one of them, and I am so grateful for where you're going in your future. It's going to be better than where you've been before. God bless you. Let's have an amazing week. God bless you.